Hello, everyone. It's good to see everyone today. My name is Kristin O'Donnell, and welcome to our gentle yoga class this afternoon. Hands to Heart Center Yoga for the People is a nonprofit organization that shares the healing practice of yoga with people affected by addiction, poverty, and trauma in Greater Boston. Hands to Heart Center would like to thank the Boston Public Library for partnering with us on this virtual project. Great. Welcome, everyone. We'll have the next hour of gentle yoga. I'm Kristin, and feel free to find a seated or lying down shape to get started. If you have two blocks or two books that are the same height, you can use those as props, or a blanket or any cushions that you have, you can also use those as well. So feel free to reach for anything that you might like for props during this practice, and I'll be giving modifications for anyone without props as well. Finding your way to your seated or lying down shape whenever you're ready. And maybe cushioning yourself, helping support yourself with your props if you're seated on a blanket, or maybe lying down with the support of any blankets or cushions. Feel free to start to settle into your seated or lying down shape whenever you're ready. Maybe closing your eyes or keeping a soft gaze in front of you. Starting to take a few moments to notice your breath. So maybe noticing, this is my cat Marshmallow coming to say hi. Maybe noticing your inhales and exhales. You might notice how big or small your inhales and exhales might be. Maybe how long or short your inhales and exhales might be. Allowing yourself to take a few moments to settle into this space and noticing how your body might be resting this afternoon, how your breath is moving, and maybe noticing what your mind might be doing. Taking a few moments to take a little check-in with yourself and notice how you're resting in this moment. Maybe noticing what parts of your body might be touching the mat, and what parts might be resting in space, and what parts might be touching another part of your body. Taking a few moments to check in with yourself and notice. And wherever you are, maybe taking 3 big breaths if you'd like. And you can choose to take those breaths any way that you might like. You might choose inhaling and exhaling in and out your nose, maybe inhaling and exhaling in and out your mouth, or maybe inhaling through your nose and exhaling out your mouth. Taking a few moments for 3 big breaths if you'd like. In your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe slowly starting to bring yourself to a seated shape if you started in lying down. And if you're in seated, maybe taking another moment or two to be aware of your body. Taking a few more breaths in this space. And if you'd like, maybe starting to add some movement whenever you're ready, maybe moving your head from side to side. Another choice might be to move your head up towards the sky and down towards the ground. So maybe experimenting with one or both of these choices, maybe moving your head from side to side, maybe moving your head up and down. If you'd like, you might start to experiment with maybe other movements, maybe choosing to move your head from left to right a few times. Possibly moving your head all the way around in full head circles. So choosing half or full head circles if you'd like. And if you chose full head circles, maybe doing a few in one direction in your own time, maybe doing a few in the opposite direction. Maybe noticing any sensations in your head and neck as you're moving. Taking your time with any movement you might like, and in your own time, maybe slowly bringing yourself back to center. If you'd like, maybe experimenting with moving your shoulders up and down a few times. You might bring your shoulders up towards your ears, maybe lowering your shoulders back down. Maybe adding some circles into this movement. Maybe inhaling, bringing your shoulders up towards your ears, and then exhaling, bringing them down, moving in a circle movement if you'd like. And if you chose to move in a circle, maybe doing a few in one direction, and in your own time, maybe reversing the direction, going the opposite way. Taking your time to notice and allow yourself to open up your shoulders in this shape. Maybe bringing your shoulders down to rest in your own time. And another choice might be to extend your arms out in front of your body, elbows straight. And in your own time, maybe starting to bend your elbows, reaching your elbows towards your back. So you might start to notice if you continue with this movement, reaching your arms forward and then bending your elbows, bringing them towards your back. Maybe noticing your shoulders reaching far apart as your arms move forward and the shoulders coming together as your elbows move towards your back. Taking a few moments to notice any changes in your shoulder movements. And then, whenever you're ready, maybe doing one more in both directions before bringing your hands back down to rest. If you'd like, maybe bringing your right hand over to the right side of your mat, possibly reaching your left hand over into a side stretch, maybe taking a few breaths here if you'd like. Or you might choose to add some movement. Maybe you choose to come back to center and in your own time, bringing the left hand down to the floor, right hand up overhead. So maybe moving in a side stretch from one side to the other, maybe choosing to pause on one side or the other. So allowing yourself, if you'd like, to choose between stillness or movement. Maybe experimenting here for another moment or two before making your way back to center. And if you'd like, maybe starting to straighten your legs out in front of your body. If you're seated on a blanket or a cushion, you might move it to the side, or you might choose to stay seated on it. Bringing your legs out straight in front of your body. If you'd like, flexing your feet, maybe keeping your spine nice and tall, head reaches up towards the sky. And if you'd like, you can imagine a string pulling your head and spine up towards the ceiling. Maybe taking a moment in your staff shape, noticing how easy or difficult this shape might be. And in your own time, maybe bending your right knee. So, right foot rests on the floor. And possibly bringing your left hand to hold the right leg, right hand reaching behind your back to twist to one side. So maybe you look over your right shoulder, inhaling, lengthening your spine, and exhaling, maybe twisting a little bit more if you'd like, taking a few breaths in this twist on the right side. Maybe pausing in this shape if you'd like, and in your own time coming back to center, maybe extending your leg back down to meet the left, and then moving into the other side whenever you're ready. So maybe bending your left foot, bringing your left foot on the floor, right hand around your left leg, and you might bring your left hand behind your back. Twisting over to the left side, inhaling, lengthening your spine, and on your exhale, maybe twisting a little bit more. Taking a few breaths in your twist on the left side. Maybe noticing any sensations you feel in your body on this side of the shape. And in your own time, coming back to center, extending the left leg back to meet the right. If you'd like, maybe inhaling, arms reaching up overhead. And then on the exhale, you might bring your hands resting anywhere on your legs. Maybe your hands rest on your upper legs. Maybe they rest on your lower legs, or maybe you're able to hold your feet or toes. Taking a few breaths in your forward fold and maybe noticing how this shape feels in your body. In your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe coming back to seated and maybe bringing the bottoms of your feet together, coming into your bound angle shape. You can experiment with how close or how far away your feet are from your upper body. So you might notice a different sensation in your legs depending on where your feet are in relation to your upper body. And if you have blocks or books, you might, or even blankets, you might choose to bring them underneath your knees if you'd like a little support there, or you might choose to let your knees hang in space. On your inhale, maybe inhaling head and spine, reaching up towards the ceiling. So, once again, if you'd like, you can imagine that string pulling your head and spine up towards the sky. And maybe pausing in this shape. If you'd like, you can close your eyes or keep a soft gaze in front of you. If you'd like to add movement, you might start to walk your hands forward into a forward fold and then maybe walking them back into your seated bound angle. So, possibly adding movement, walking your hands forward and back, or possibly being still, maybe staying in seated or maybe staying in a forward fold. Taking a few moments in this shape to experiment with movement or stillness, finding whatever feels right in your body and honoring yourself. This is your practice. So you can feel free to move in any way that you might like, or you can choose to follow along with me. Making any choice that you might like for yourself and knowing that it doesn't have to be what I'm doing. You can move in any way you would like for your body. In your own time, maybe slowly starting to come back to center if you're not already there, coming to that seated bound angle, and maybe bringing your hands underneath your knees and bringing them in towards your chest. If you'd like, you can extend your legs out in front of your body, maybe bending and straightening your knees a few times, working that out of your body a little bit. Finding your way to your hands and knees in your own time. And if your knees would like a little bit of cushioning, feel free to grab a blanket or a pillow or cushion to bring across your mat. Bringing your hands and knees to the mat, finding your table shape. Your wrists might be underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and maybe taking a few moments to pause in this shape, maybe noticing how this shape feels in your body. And possibly experimenting with your cat cow movements, maybe inhaling, bringing your head and chest up into cow shape, maybe pausing in this shape, or maybe exhaling, lowering your head down and curving your lower back up towards the sky into cat shape. Choosing to move back and forth from one shape to the other if you'd like. Maybe inhale, bringing the head and chest up into cow. Maybe exhale, lowering your head down and curving your lower back up into cat. Option to move in any way that feels right for you. Maybe choosing to pause in one shape or the other. So, once again, you can feel free to experiment with stillness or with movement, finding whatever feels right in your body. Taking a few more moments, experimenting with your cat and cow shapes. And in your own time, maybe slowly starting to bring yourself back to neutral. So letting go of any movement if you'd like. And then maybe bringing the left foot behind you, pressing your left toes into the floor. So you might start by rocking forward and back, maybe noticing a sensation in the left ball of your foot or your left calf. Taking a moment or two in that movement, finding stillness if you'd like. Moving into stillness whenever you're ready, and maybe lifting the left leg up hip height. You might choose to pause here, maybe taking a few moments in this shape, or if you'd like, you might extend your right arm out in front. Maybe keeping your core engaged to balance in this shape with your arm and leg extended, or maybe with your leg extended by itself. In your own time, lowering your leg and your arm if you raised your arm up, and moving into the other side, starting to extend your right leg, pressing your right toes into the mat, and maybe rocking forward and back if you'd like. You might find sensation in the ball of your foot or your calf on the right side. Finding your way back to neutral whenever you're ready. And if you'd like, maybe bringing your right leg hip height. So maybe pausing in this shape, keeping your core engaged if you can. So imagining your belly button pulling up towards your spine. And maybe keeping your head in line with the rest of your body. If you'd like, you can extend your left arm out in front if you'd like to experiment with a little balance in this shape. Taking another moment or two in this place, in whichever variation you chose, and whenever you're ready, lowering your leg down, or maybe the arm if you extended your arm as well. Maybe starting to move your hips from side to side. You might choose to move your hips in circles. Finding any movement or stillness you might like with your hips in this moment. If you chose circles, making them as big or as small as you might like them to be. If you chose circles, doing a few in both directions if you haven't already. And finding your way back to your table shape, to neutral. If you'd like, maybe bringing your right foot in between your hands. So if you do have blocks or books, you can bring your hands underneath them on either side of the right foot. Or if you prefer not to, or you don't have blocks or books, you can have your hands on the mat. Maybe taking a moment to pause in your kneeling lunge, and whenever you're ready, maybe inhaling, arms reach up overhead, gazes in front of you. And then maybe exhale, lower the hands back down to the floor or blocks or books. We'll do that 2 more times whenever you're ready. In your own time, inhale, arms come up overhead, gaze is in front of you. And exhale, maybe lower back down to the floor or blocks or books. One last time, whenever you're ready, inhaling, arms come up overhead. And maybe exhale, lower your hands back down to the floor. Taking a moment, maybe inhaling and exhaling to pause if you'd like. And then you might choose to start to walk your hands forward. Maybe the hips follow. Maybe you start to walk your hands back behind you. So if you'd like, starting to add some movement with your hips moving forward and back, and maybe your hands are what's leading you in this movement. You can choose to make this movement as big or as small as you might like. So if it's available to you, you might choose to make this a bigger movement, or maybe this is such a small movement that only you know that you're moving. So really listening to your body. And noticing what feels right for you. You can have your hands on the mat, or maybe they're on blocks or books as well, walking back and forth. Another choice might be to pause in one shape or the other. So, again, really listening to your body, figuring out what might feel the best for you. And whenever you're ready, coming back to that neutral kneeling lunge. So, coming back to center in your own time. And then maybe walking the right foot out to the right edge of your mat. So, I'm going to rotate so you can see me from the front. Starting to walk your right foot out to the edge of your mat. Both hands are on the inside of that right leg. If you have a blocker book, hands or forearms might be resting on that. Or maybe hands or forearms are resting on the ground. And maybe pausing in any variation you chose in your lizard shape. If you notice any tension in your body, you can let it go with each exhale. Maybe noticing any sensations in your body in this shape. Making sure you're breathing in this shape. And then whenever you're ready, bringing your hands back to the mat or to a block or book if you have one. And maybe walking the right foot once again. This time the right foot walks over to the right side. The toes are pointing away from you. So the toes are pointing towards the right side of your mat. And you might stay here with your hands on the floor or a block or a book. If you'd like, you might choose to walk your hands as far to the right as you might like. Pausing wherever you'd like. Maybe this is a continuous movement. Or if it's available to you, you might come up to your knees. Maybe you can bring your right hand down your right leg, left arm reaching overhead for a side stretch. So hands might be as I'm doing, or maybe hands are on the floor with movement or with stillness. Whenever you're ready, if you're in kneeling, maybe bringing your left hand to the mat or a block or book if you have one. Right arm might reach up overhead. If your hands are on the floor, you might slowly start to walk your hands over to the left side of your mat. Pausing in whichever variation you might like. And in your own time, coming back to center. If you're in your kneeling shape, you can bring your hands back to the floor, bringing the right knee to meet the left, and finding your thread the needle shape. So you might choose to pause here, maybe inhaling, reaching the right arm up towards the ceiling, and maybe on your exhale, bringing the right hand behind your left wrist, right shoulder and head make their way to the floor or a block or book. If you'd like, you can start to walk your left hand forward towards the front of your mat. Maybe pausing in this shape for a few breaths. In your own time, maybe slowly walking your left hand towards your head and using it to push yourself back into your table shape. I'm going to rotate back to face the front of my mat, finding your puppy shape to rest whenever you're ready. So maybe keeping your hips where they are, you might start to walk your hands forward, maybe bringing your head down to the mat, or if you have a block or a book, you can rest your head on top of that as well. Allowing yourself to take a few breaths in this shape. In your own time, maybe slowly starting to make your way back to your hands and knees. And maybe before we make our way to the other side, finding your downward dog, the first downward dog of your class. So if you'd like, you can keep your hands where they are, maybe bringing your hands a little forward from where they are, depending on what feels okay in your body. Pressing your toes into the mat, straightening your knees, and bringing your hips up towards the ceiling. Maybe pausing in this shape if you'd like to add movement, maybe bending one knee and then the other, allowing yourself to walk in place. What I like to call walking your dog out. Or you might choose any other movement, maybe moving your hips from side to side, maybe bending and straightening your knees a few times. So if you'd like, allowing yourself to find movement or stillness in your downward dog. Whenever you're ready, if you are moving, slowly coming to stillness whenever you're ready, and maybe bringing your knees back down to the floor. You might start to bring your hands back underneath your shoulders if they were stretched out a little bit. And finding your kneeling lunge on the other side, maybe bringing your left foot in between your hands. And if you have blocks or books that you'd like to use for your kneeling lunge, you can bring your hands on top of those blocks or books on either side of your left foot. Finding a moment to pause in this shape. And whenever you're ready, maybe inhaling, reaching your arms up overhead, gazes in front of you. Maybe exhaling, hands come back to the floor or blocks or books. As we did on the other side, we'll do this twice more. Inhale, reaching arms up overhead. Exhale, lowering back down. And maybe doing this one more time. Whenever you're ready, inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, lowering back down to the floor. Finding a moment to pause if you'd like. And if you want to add movement, you might start to walk your hands forward. Maybe hips start to follow. Making this movement as big or as small as you like. Maybe hands start to move back behind you. Maybe hips start to follow. Again, really letting this movement be as big or as small as you might like. Maybe the movement is so small that only you know that it's occurring. Really listening to your body and finding what might work for you. You can also have your hands on blocks or books. Really noticing where your body is with this movement, how big or how small feels the best in your body. And whenever you're ready, coming back to center in your own time and starting to walk the left foot out to the left edge of your mat. So once again, we'll face the camera. So your left leg is out to the left edge of your mat. Both hands are on the inside of the left leg. Option to have your hands or forearms on the floor, or if you do have a block or book, hands and forearms can rest on that as well. Pausing in your lizard shape, taking your time, and really allowing yourself to let go a little, let go of any tension, of any holding you might notice in your body. Noticing your breath in this shape. Letting your head hang if you'd like. noticing what sensations you might be feeling in your body in this shape. And maybe that changes the longer you pause. And whenever you're ready, bringing your hands back to the mat, moving any props aside if you were using them. And then taking your left foot and this time bringing the left toes so that they're pointing towards the left side of your mat. Hands might stay on the floor. And if they do, you might walk them over to the left side of your mat, maybe pausing there or adding some movement, moving back and forth. Or if you'd like, you might come to a kneeling shape, bringing your left hand to rest on your left leg. Right arm might reach up overhead in a side stretch. Finding whichever shape that you might like in your body and pausing or adding some movement. In your own time, maybe coming back to center. If you're in kneeling, you might bring your right hand to the mat or a block or book, maybe bringing your left hand up towards the ceiling. Or if your hands are on the mat, you might choose to walk them over to the right side. So maybe once again, adding movement or stillness with your hands on or off the mat. In your own time, maybe making your way back to center. If you're in kneeling, bring your hands back down to the mat and maybe bringing the left knee to meet the right, finding your thread the needle on the other side. If you'd like, inhaling, left arm reaches up overhead. Exhaling, maybe bringing your left arm behind your right wrist. Left shoulder and head make their way to the floor. Right arm might start to walk towards the front of your mat. I might move so that I'm facing the front of the mat. So you might be able to see this from the side. And pausing in this shape for a few breaths. In your own time, maybe slowly bringing your right hand towards your head and pressing your hand into the mat, bringing both hands back to your table shape. Finding your puppy or your child shape whenever you're ready. So your puppy, you might start to walk your hands forward, bringing your head to the floor or a block or a book. Or if you'd like to move into child shape, you might keep your knees together or widen your knees, sitting your hips back towards your feet, and maybe extending your hands out in front. Head comes down to the floor or a block as well. Experimenting with one or both of these shapes and finding where you might like to pause for a few moments. In your own time, maybe slowly making your way to your table shape and finding your downward dog. Your hands might stay where they are, maybe they come slightly forward, pressing your toes into the mat and straightening your knees, bringing your hips up towards the ceiling. Option to add movement in this shape, maybe being still, finding whatever works for you. And in your own time, maybe slowly starting to walk your feet towards your hands, eventually making your way to a forward fold. Hands maybe come to ragdoll, maybe opposite hand holds your opposite elbow. You might choose to rock from side to side in this shape. Another choice might be to shake your head yes and no a few times. Letting go of any tension in your body that you might notice. Really letting your upper body hang in this shape if you'd like. And whenever you're ready, coming back to center, And slowly releasing your hands, making your way up to standing in your own time. Once you make your way to standing, making sure your head comes up last. And if you do have a blanket or cushion on your mat, you can choose to move it aside. Bringing both feet to the front of your mat. Maybe bringing your feet hip width apart. And maybe once again, imagining that string pulling your head and spine up towards the ceiling. Really noticing your feet grounding into the floor and your head and spine reaching up towards the sky. Taking a breath or two here, palms might be facing out or in. Maybe taking a moment to notice how your body is resting in this standing shape. In your own time, letting your hands just fall by your sides. Palms might be facing your legs. Bringing all of your weight to your right leg. Maybe start to walk your left foot behind you. You might keep the toes, just going to move a little back here. You might keep the toes of your left foot on the floor. Hips might be facing the front of your mat, arms by your sides. Maybe you pause here. This can be your warrior three shape. Or if you'd like, you might start to lift your left leg up off the floor. And as you do, your upper body might start to hinge forward, almost imagining a seesaw, only lifting that leg and bringing the torso as far forward as the leg will go. Finding a spot to balance if you'd like, maybe gazing in front of you, taking a few moments in this shape, or you can also add some movement. Maybe that foot lifts and lowers up off the floor a few times. And whenever you're ready, coming back to standing, bringing the left leg to meet the right. And finding your warrior one. So maybe walking the left foot back behind you, left toes facing the front of your mat. And maybe bending your right knee, keeping your right knee in line with your ankle, hips facing the front of your mat, maybe bringing arms up overhead. You might pause in your warrior one. Feel free to make your stance bigger or smaller if you'd like. Possibly relaxing your shoulders, letting go of any tension in your body. And taking a few breaths in this place, maybe adding some movement. Maybe you choose to bend your elbows. So bringing your elbows kind of like football goalpost arms. And then maybe raising them back up. So you might do that a few times, bending your elbows and raising them back up towards the sky. So choosing to add movement or stillness in your warrior one shape. And the next time you raise your arms up, maybe straightening your right leg and starting to hinge your upper body and arms forward, making your way to the floor. Hands can gently rest on your right leg, or they can rest on the floor or blocks or books if you have them on either side of your right leg. If you'd like, you can let your head hang, maybe once again, shaking your head yes and no. Keeping your core engaged, so the belly button reaching up towards your spine so that you don't have too much weight in your hands wherever your hands are resting. They're light as they rest. Taking a few breaths in this shape if you'd like. You might choose to add a little bit of movement if you'd like. Maybe it's movement with your head or another part of your body. If you're choosing movement, and then slowly making your way back to your standing shape. Finding your way to standing in your own time, maybe raising your arms up overhead. And if you'd like, maybe bringing your right hand forward, left hand behind you. Possibly bringing your left foot so it's parallel to the back of your mat. So maybe finding your warrior two shape. You might bend your right knee. And if you'd like, you might pause in this shape. Maybe your gaze is at your right hand, or if you'd like to add movement, maybe bringing your arms up towards the ceiling and straightening your right knee. And then in your own time, maybe bending your right knee and bringing your arms down. So possibly moving the arms up and straightening your knee and moving the arms down and bending your knee. Experimenting with any movement or stillness in your warrior two. And then in your own time, maybe finding your warrior two whenever you're ready and starting to straighten your front knee, bringing your hands down and maybe bringing your left foot to meet the right. In your own time, finding the other side. I'm going to rotate so you can see the other side. Again, bringing both feet hip width apart, hands by your side. And this time, maybe bringing your right foot back behind you into warrior three. You might stay with your right foot on the floor. Maybe you choose to lift and lower your right leg a few times. And as your leg lifts up, your upper body might start to move forward. So again, moving your upper body and leg like a seesaw moving up and down. Or maybe lifting your right leg and excuse me, and maybe pausing for a few moments. So choosing to pause and balance, choosing to add movement, or choosing to keep your foot on the floor. Taking another moment or two to experiment with any or all of those choices. And whenever you're ready, maybe bringing your right foot back to the floor. Extending your right foot back behind you, finding your warrior one on the other side. You might keep your left knee bent, right toes pointing towards the front of your mat. Hips might be pointing towards the front of your mat. And if you'd like, maybe raising your arms up overhead. Again, option to add stillness. So maybe pausing in this shape. Or if you'd like to add movement, you might start to bend your elbows and raising them back up. So maybe bending and straightening your elbows a few times if you choose to add movement in this shape. So you can experiment with movement or stillness, finding whatever you prefer. And in your own time, whenever you're ready, finding your warrior two, and maybe bringing your left hand forward, right hand back behind you. You might bring your right foot so it's parallel to the back of your mat. Maybe your left knee is bent once again. If you'd like to be still, maybe bringing your gaze to your left hand. If you'd like to add movement, you might start to raise your arms up overhead, maybe straightening your left knee. Maybe bending your left knee and bringing your arms back down. So you can experiment with this shape a few times. Raising the arms up and straightening the knee, your knee. Or bringing your arms down and bending your knee. Whenever you're ready, finding your warrior two. Maybe lowering your hands down and maybe bringing your right foot in a little bit so it's pointing towards the front of your mat, straightening your left foot. Inhale, raising your arms up overhead, and exhale, maybe hinging forward into your pyramid shape. So you might bring your hands gently to rest on your left leg. Maybe they come to the floor or blocks on either side of your left leg. Keeping your core engaged if you'd like, so that there's minimal weight in your hands, and maybe letting your head move from side to side or up and down. Adding movement or stillness in this shape. In your own time, slowly coming up to standing, finding your way to the front of your mat with both feet hip width apart once again. Maybe taking a moment to notice your standing shape if you'd like. And if you'd like, you might raise your arms up overhead and maybe starting to move into a forward fold. You might dive your arms down, pausing in a forward fold. If you'd like, you can bring your opposite hand to opposite elbow into ragdoll. Maybe bringing your hands behind your ankles. Maybe shaking your head yes and no a few times. Finding your way to your forward fold in your own time, letting that go, and eventually making your way to the floor. So maybe bringing one leg down and then the other, or getting to the floor in any way that feels right in your body. And once again, making your way to bring the bottoms of your feet together. You might choose to bring blocks or books underneath your knees if you'd like, or any cushioning underneath your knees. And maybe taking a few moments to notice this shape once again. Maybe experimenting with where your feet are resting and maybe trying something different from what you did earlier in class. Taking a few moments, this time maybe staying seated if you'd like, or you might choose to add some movement. Maybe noticing how your legs are resting, how your knees are resting, how your feet are resting. In your own time, maybe bringing your hands behind your knees, bringing them in front of your body and straightening your legs out in front, maybe bending and straightening your legs a few times. And finding your way to the floor whenever you're ready. So maybe finding your way to lie down on your back in your own time. Once you make your way to the floor, maybe noticing how your body is resting. If you'd like, you might start to bend your knees, maybe bringing your feet to rest on the floor. From this shape, maybe bringing your right ankle to rest on your upper left leg. You might choose to stay in this shape if this feels okay in your body. Or you might choose to bring your hands behind your left leg, maybe bringing both feet up off the floor. If you'd like to add movement, you might choose to sway your hips from side to side in either variation. Taking a few moments in this shape, finding whatever variation feels right in your body. And in your own time, slowly coming back to center, bringing both feet to the floor. And whenever you're ready, maybe bringing your left ankle to rest on your upper right leg. Maybe pausing in this shape. If you'd like, you might bring your hands behind your right leg, bringing both feet up off the floor. And if you'd like to add movement in this shape, you might choose to rock your hips from side to side. Taking a few moments on this side of the shape in whichever variation you chose. In your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe bringing both feet to the floor. And if you'd like, maybe hugging your knees into your chest, you might start to rock from side to side, or maybe choosing to be still in this shape. Maybe bringing both knees over to the right side of your body if you'd like. You might bring your right leg to the floor, left leg on top. Maybe your upper body follows to rest on your right side, or maybe you choose to extend your arms in that football goalpost arm shape, or maybe bringing your arms out in a T shape on either side of your body. And if you'd like, you might choose to bring your gaze over your left shoulder, maybe finding a twist, or maybe choosing to lie on your right side. So finding whatever shape feels right for you and experimenting with either variation. In your own time, whenever you're ready, maybe slowly coming back to center. If you'd like, you can bring your knees into your chest. And whenever you're ready, maybe bringing both knees over to the left side of your body, left leg on the floor, right leg might be on top. So maybe you move your upper body to move to rest on your left side. Maybe you choose to bring your arms in that football goalpost arm shape, or maybe extending your arms out in a T shape on either side of your body. Gaze might be over your right shoulder. So maybe allowing your body to rest in any variation on this side of the shape. In your own time, maybe slowly making your way back to center. If you'd like, maybe hugging your knees into your chest one more time. And you might choose to find your way to lie down, maybe bringing your feet to rest on the mat, or you might choose to extend your legs long down the mat. If you have any props, you might use them to help cushion you and support you in your lying down shape in any way that you might like, maybe moving something under your head or your knees or feet or your arms. And finding a place to settle in. If you'd like, you can continue with movement in this shape, or you can choose to be still. And you might choose to follow along as I walk you through your body. So maybe noticing how your feet are resting on the floor. You might choose to wiggle your toes a little bit. Maybe noticing if both feet feel the same, or maybe one foot feels a little different than the other. Maybe starting to notice how both of your legs are resting on the floor. Do both legs feel the same, or maybe one leg is resting slightly different than the other? Maybe you can tell if there are some parts of one leg that are resting on the floor, and maybe there are different parts of the other leg that are resting on the floor. So, really allowing yourself to notice any differences or similarities if you'd like, and without judgment, without comparing or judging yourself for it, really allowing yourself to notice what might be coming up for you in your body. In your own time, maybe starting to notice your hips and how each of your hips is resting on the floor. Maybe they're resting in the same way, or maybe they're resting slightly different from one another. Making your way into your back and maybe noticing for a moment how your lower back is resting, and slowly working your gaze up your back, noticing your middle back, and eventually bringing your awareness to your shoulders and maybe noticing how each of your shoulders is resting in this moment. Allowing yourself to notice, if you'd like, what might be resting on the floor or your mat and what might not be touching at all. And then in your own time, maybe starting to notice your arms Maybe noticing if your arms are resting on another part of your body, or maybe they're resting on the mat or the floor. Allowing yourself to be aware of how your arms are resting in this moment. And in your own time, maybe bringing your attention to your head and your neck. And if you'd like, you might slowly move your head from side to side. Maybe noticing, if you'd like, how your head and your neck are resting in this moment. Allowing your body to move in any way that you might like. Or maybe choosing stillness, finding stillness if you'd like as well. In your own time, you might start to notice how your whole body is resting. So maybe noticing what parts of your body are resting on the mat. Maybe noticing what parts of your body might not be touching the mat at all. Allowing yourself to be aware of whatever is showing up for you today. Really giving your body and your breath and everything about you as much love as you would like today. And if you'd like, I'll be quiet for the next 2 minutes. So feel free to use that time to move in any way that you might like, or you can choose that time to be still. You can always choose to close your eyes or maybe keep your eyes open with a soft gaze in front of you, using this time in any way that you might like. In your own time, whenever you're ready, you might choose to wiggle your fingers or maybe your toes, maybe adding some small movements in your body. If you'd like, you might move your wrists and ankles in circles. And another choice might be to bring your arms up overhead for a full body stretch. If there's any other stretch you might like to help settle back into the room, feel free to do so. Maybe rolling to one side. You might like to pause and take a moment or two in this space. And whenever you're ready in your own time, maybe slowly making your way back to a seated shape. Finding your way to seated whenever you'd like. And maybe bringing your palms together in front of your chest. May the light within me honor the light within each of you. Namaste. My name is Kristin O'Donnell. Thank you again for joining me for today's gentle yoga class. And thank you to Hands to Heart Center and Boston Public Library for making it possible. Take care, everyone.